Welcome to the One Player Podcast, the show on toilets of board games. I'm your host Albert, and this is episode 327.
Stephanie, no disassemble. No disassemble, Stephanie.
No, disassemble. No, number 5.
I'm glad Albert and I are the ones in the room who are old enough to appreciate that reference.
Classic movie, yes. I watched it again a couple years ago, and it held up. It didn't hold up.
No,
It did not hold up. But it was still fun to watch.
So we are talking about robots today, Albert.
That's right, robots and factories and building things.
Robots and factories and building things. Or disassembling them, I guess? I'm not sure.
No, reassembling. We're reassemblers, yes.
There is disassembly occurring.
Yeah, but that's pre-game. That happened already, yeah. We're talking about Cyberion, which is the 7th game?
The
6th game?
latest game in the Oniverse series. I don't know the number.
Yeah, 7th game in the Oniverse series, which is so exciting. Last year, when the previous Stellarion came out, we decided to review all the games in order, building up to that one. We're not doing that this time.
No.
Tempting as that is, we're not going to do that. We're just going to tell you about Cyberion and go back and listen to the other 6 episodes and catch up.
So, Albert, how about you tell us, I'll bring us on 1 foot, what is this one about?
So the Devious Cog has come and destroyed your factory, and all the machines are in disarray, and you need to rebuild it before time runs out, or the factory will stop to produce nightmares or whatever it makes in the Oniverse. And your job is to rebuild the machines to get the factory going again. That's what this game is about. Thematically. Mechanics, it is a hand management game in which your hand is laid out on the table.
In which your hand is laid out on the table?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You don't actually keep the cards in your hand. They're laid out in front of you already. But it is basically a hand.
Interesting. Except that there are 3 hands.
There can be. It's a 3-handed game. And that's where the real innovation came in.
I thought it was tableau building. I wasn't aware that it's considered hand building.
Well, the rulebook, the back of the box calls it a hand management game. And I could definitely see that you're trying to figure out which cards to play and whatnot.
Could be.
I don't know that I would call it tableau building, but let's let listeners decide for themselves. Let's describe the game a little more.
Sure. Although I believe that the first thing we normally start with is discussion about the components. So, Albert, what do you think about the components?
I enjoyed the components. I liked them a lot. This game brings, it's an Oniverse game, so it's a small square box, and it is relatively tightly packed. It's got the interesting inserts and the very colorful artwork by Elise Plessis.
And mine is gone already.
Yeah. Really? You didn't need to throw the insert. Oh, because you sleeve your cards.
I did want to sleeve the cards.
They should fit with sleeves, no? Well,
no, it does not fit with sleeves.
Okay. Well, so components. So you're going to get a board on this game a small board, rectangular, so it's folded once. You're going to get this is a board that you keep track of your machine and how fixed it is. So there's 5 different machines, I guess, that you're trying to repair, and the machines can each have 5 levels. So it's used to track that. Besides the board, there's 116 cards. You get a bunch of robot cards. These are the cards for your robots that you're going to use to rebuild the machines and fix it. Each of the robot cards has a color and a number. There's 5 different colors and there's 5 numbers, 1 through 5. So, and there's 2 of each kind. So there's a purple 1, a purple 2, a purple 3, a purple 4, and a purple 5. And then there's another whole set of those same 5 cards. Same for each other color. Each of the other 4 colors. There is also a battery card. Not necessary, but cute, I guess.
It's not necessary.
Well, so when you start the game, you have your card face up on the full side. Once you've gone through your deck once, you're going to flip it over. You're going to shuffle your discard and make a new deck and flip the battery over to its empty side. If you run out of cards again, your battery's empty. You've lost the game. It feels unnecessary, or maybe I would have preferred a token instead of a card or something. I don't know. But
hear that.
To me, the card fills up. Yeah.
But you needed to have something to note whether you're on the first run or the second run of the deck.
I would argue that it's easy enough to remember that, but yeah.
You're not the sort of person who plays games a little bit and then pauses.
No, I don't usually pause because if I pause when I come back, the game is over because my cat found
Yeah, I don't have cats.
it. Yeah, so you can pause it. Yeah, okay. I mean, maybe it's useful for that. You can kind of tell though, after the first couple games for sure, you would have a good sense of it, how advanced you are. But
Maybe.
but anyway, yeah. So that is there. It is appreciated, even if I don't like it too much. Besides that, there's a bunch of machine cards. They come in levels 1, 2, or 3. These are the machine pieces that you're trying to repair to fix your factory machines. And the level ones are easier to fix. Level 2 harder. Level 3 are way harder. There, what else is it? There's tokens, right? There's a bunch of tokens in this game. There's some small failsafe tokens, which buy you a free round, sort of. There's some support tokens, which you start the game with one, and these are used also to help adjust difficulty. If you're finding the game hard, start with more. If you find it easy, start with fewer. They basically give you a free bonus action one time during the game. There,
We'll talk about that more during gameplay.
yep, and there's also a bunch of expansion tokens and expansion cards and whatnot used in the game. And finally, there is the Cog Meeple, or actually 5 meeples in this case. All the Oniverse games have a big, funky, weird meeple. This one has 5 little pieces that are wedge shapes that form a big gear when you combine them in a circle, which is pretty cool and not necessary because you never actually do it in the game, and yet it really makes it so much neater, I think.
I mean, you do need to have some meeples. The meeples are used to
Yes,
track
yes,
how
yes.
high up you have powered up your machines, which is strange that you're using the evil meeples to track how far you, as the good guy, have advanced. But we'll set
Yeah.
aside that slight thematic dissonance.
That is a little
The
weird. In most of the other games, the meep not I think it's even 100% consistent, but generally the meeples are used to track something bad,
Yeah,
and here, I mean, it's representing how much damage it's done, and you're pushing them back, I guess, as you're repairing the machine. You could look at it that way, but it does. I agree with you. It does feel a little awkward at first, for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the way it's supposed to be. But I didn't. I don't understand that. But yeah, they have some thematic ability. But to me, it's a dissonance point. But if the alternative would have meant that we had to use cubes, I'm perfectly happy to go with it
Oh
this
yeah,
way because the cogs are adorable little tokens.
they are, and the fact that you could combine all of them to make what looks like a gear is really neat. That is a really neat effect. Very
Yeah.
very clever design. I
I,
like
I
that a lot.
like the idea that it sort of invokes of the idea of this big giant cog rolling on in, and then as it like enters the factory, it sort of just pops apart into its various pieces, and they spread around, just running havoc and mayhem. And the idea that comes, the components are telling a story, and I like the story that it tells.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned you threw your insert away, but I do like the this one, the flaps that open up. The the design of it, it looks like a machine with all these gears and lines and stuff, and it feels so chaotic, and it feels like it's bound to fall apart and explode. The design of that insert makes me think I'm in a very crazy factory, and I think it does a nice job of setting up the theme for me there. But that is all the components, I believe. Did I leave anything out, Julius?
Well, they're mentioning the cards. I want to dig into this a little bit more.
Okay.
So there's various different types of cards. There's the robot cards. All of the robot cards have their model and their size. The model is going to determine all sorts of different things. It's sort of like the suit, and the size is sort of like the number. Now, the number of it really doesn't matter for a whole lot of things other than repairing. But the model matters about what card power it has that's associated with it. The different cards are all very distinct in showing you their model, less distinct about showing you their size. In order to determine its model, the whole color of the card is very clear about what its model is. In order to determine its size, the only way you practically can tell is you have to look at the top right corner to be able to determine its size. So, since, in my opinion, one is a little bit more primary than the other, I think they made a good emphasis on that. But it did sort of devolve into just looking into that corner to be able to figure out what type it is rather than having it be clearly denoted in the art or in a larger icon anywhere else. Um, there are, as with many of these Oniverse games, there's expansion components. which
Hmm.
include various different cards and tokens. Um, and Albert, do you want to discuss those now?
We could get to them later. I do want to
Okay,
say one thing about the. You're right about the numbers. You really got to read the number to see what the value is. But the I don't know if you've noticed the art in the card. You could look at it and count how many of whatever it is for that picture that
sure,
there are. But they're all very different in style and not always easy to count. So it's not really functional.
right. It is a different card art, but it's not different enough that you can look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's the 5 or the 1.
Yeah, you'd have to like the yellow five. You have to sit there and count how many things are in the robot set, and you say one, two. Okay, there are five on this one. That's a five.
Yeah,
But but yeah, it's not functional. You really use the number 100%. Yeah, then let's save the expansions for later. We could go through those.
sure,
There's basically more cards and more tokens for each expansion, which is pretty expected for an Oniverse type game. It's
sure. How do you feel that the theme held up for you, Albert?
generally for the Oniverse games, I feel the theme is pretty light, and I'd say it held up to that standard quite well.
Yeah.
It's like I mean, it does kind of feel like I'm. Does it feel like I'm fixing machines? No, it feels like I'm playing a game. That's what
No,
it feels like.
I think it feels like you have machines that require very specific things to interact with them, and
Hmm.
you're assigned fix this machine with this thing, and you have to go find them, and everything is a mess. Like it feels to me like the chaos of war has taken on. Stuff is blowing up everywhere, and you have to fix it. So I don't know. It actually felt really. It felt more thematic to me than a number of the other Oniverse games.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get that coming across at all, personally. It's
Okay,
it's an Oniverse game, and I think if you've played some before and you have a sense of their theme, I think this is on par with those. Give or take.
eh, maybe maybe better.
Maybe okay. The thing is, the theme is so abstract already, right? That it's such a fanciful world that it's hard to say, oh yeah, this is what that would feel like. Like if you're playing, I don't know, say a war game or a game about building a castle or something, all these kinds of games, you kind of oh that yeah, that's what that would be like because that makes sense. But this is yeah, just kind of nonsensical in a way with a cog. My experience when cog attack factories, it doesn't work like this. It works a little differently. See, that statement made no sense.
Sure.
Anyway, moving on. The rules. Oh, the rules. Okay. So this is an Oniverse game, and I think the rules are on par with those. Generally, this game is on par with all the Oniverse games I found. So everything that you find true for most of those games, you can find similar here. The rules are clear. They're well written. It's written in an instructional form where the first games are going to be kind of simple, and then as you add expansions, you could add complexity. The the last 3 pages are the rules reference, which it's handy to it's in there in the back, but I guess it's annoying that there's 3 pages, but it was needed. Right, the very last page, like I think, shows you what some of the different symbols on the machine cards mean, and then the 2 pages before that describe what each of the robot suits can do when you use them to
To use their special powers.
yeah.
And I wish, in terms of the rules, again, I think the rules are explained clear enough. I wish it was maybe a touch more clear about what those abilities would do. You do have the reference on the actual deck, on the not the deck, on the
On
track
the board.
where the
Hmm.
devious cogs are going, about what it is that each one of them do. But for example, like the cyclobot is one that it's easy to miss if it's coming from on the deck or to the platform, essentially into the deck or in your hand. And so, I mean, some of them are hard to miss, and so you have to a certain degree, take a fine toothed comb and understand what the difference between some of these individual levels are. It's a little bit tedious to learn the rules. Once you get it, it's fine, but you have to be careful.
Yeah, I've definitely messed that rule up, especially with the cyclobots, for example.
I will say the
um
rule that I keep messing up during setup is that when you begin the game, you have to start by discarding the first 5 cards. I
mhm.
keep messing up that rule.
I have forgotten to do that many times, which I guess makes the game a little bit easier because many times it comes down to last card, and if I didn't shuffle in five, I had five more.
Oh
than I
yeah.
would have otherwise. So yeah, so it has won me the game more than once. The Yeah, I didn't find the rules too bad. The And like I said, yeah, those robots, it tells you like if you don't understand the image, you could go to the back of the book, open to the inside back page, and in those 2 page spread there, it'll tell you what it does, and it's spelled out in words, so it's clear enough that way. But yeah, you kind of got to go dig for it.
So gameplay?
Yeah. Okay. So the gameplay. So this is a hand managed game. Game we said, right? Let's talk about how you're gonna set it up
Well, I
first.
didn't say that. You said
Oh,
that.
well, yeah. Putting words in your mouth, aren't I? So here, let's set up the game. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna get the board out. You're gonna put the 5 cogs on it all the way to the left. There's 5 rows, 1 cog in each row, and then there's 5 columns. Each column tells you the level.
The level of ability that the suit can trigger.
Yes, and how repaired the machine is, right? So once it goes all to the end, it's fully repaired. That's the idea. You
I
can
don't know
set
what
up
you
the
mean.
board.
No.
Yeah,
When you say the machine, no. What do you mean
the
the
factory. Okay,
robots?
so
Because
the
the
board.
factory is represented by the machine deck.
I think, I think that the factory is represented by the board, and there's 5 machines, and as you're repairing, there's 5 simple machines. Well, there's a bunch of little machines, and then
Albert,
there's one big machine.
it's literally labeled the machine deck. The display from the cards from the machine deck is literally labeled as the factory.
Okay, so you know what? This is where the theme just falls apart for me. The mainframe board. Okay, so it's the mainframe board. The board, in my mind, the board has represented the different machines you're fixing, but this is the mainframe. As you fix a
No,
machine, it says it right here.
I
Set up
know
the
it is, but
mainframe
I'm
board.
saying that the mainframe board represents the robots themselves, that the robots have been messed with, and this is representing how well you're repairing their abilities so that they can then go repair the factory.
You know what? We may be arguing nonsense and just adding confusion. So let's just move on. There's a board,
Fine.
and it's got space to show how much you have repaired things.
For the record,
And
I'm right.
yeah, we'll go with that. I am accept. You know what? I could accept that I make mistakes once in a while. I am okay with it. I am comfortable with that actually. Once in a while.
Ah,
So some of us can't, others can't, but I am okay with that. The You're gonna lay out the board. You're gonna put the 5 cogs on it at level 1. You're gonna shuffle all the machine cards. You're gonna shuffle the twos. I mentioned that they were numbered 1, 2, and 3. You're not gonna use 3 at all, not at the beginning. You're gonna shuffle all the twos together and put them on your deck. Then you're gonna shuffle the ones and put them on top. Then you're gonna draw the top 5 of those ones and lay them out below the mainframe. These are the first 5 machines that you have available to start fixing. Then you're gonna shuffle your robot deck, draw 5 and discard them. Let's not forget to do that this time. Then we will draw the next 5 and lay them out across below the machines, but with another extra row in the middle, because you're eventually going to have 4 total rows. And so far, we filled the top row and the third row. The second and fourth are empty. And you're going to set up some tokens on the side. You're going to have the failsafe tokens. Yeah, I think you have a pool of 5 of them available. 6. You're going to take one of those 6 and collect it already and put it by your deck of robot parts. And then you're also going to take your one what is that other piece called, the support token, right, which gives you a free card action at any point without having to spend any cards. And you're going to draw one randomly of the 5. There's one in each of the colors of the robots, and you're ready to start playing. Your goal each turn is to fix one machine part. You have to fix a machine part each turn of the game or you lose, flat out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, except for the couple of things that let you change that around a little bit, of course. But the way you fix a machine is each of the machines tells you who needs to fix it, which robots can fix that machine. And for the level 1 machines, there are generally 2 criteria. One robot has to be well, depend. It might say you need 2 robots of number 2 or size 2, or you need 2 yellow robots or some combination like that. It's always 2 of the same, if I remember correctly. So now, when you start your turn, you're going to look at the robot you have in your hand, those 5 cards, and there's 5 machines out there. If there's 2 yellows and a machine that says you need 2 yellows to fix it, and you have 2 yellow cards, you could say, "Ha! I could fix that machine." You could discard your 2 yellow cards, and then take that machine card and set it aside to your discard pile, and you have now fixed that machine. You could keep going and fix more machines this turn if you have more cards, that you can fix, more machines you can fix. If not, you end the turn. You shift all your. Well, you don't have to shift your cards. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But you fill in the gaps of the cards you discarded from the machine row and your hand in the hand row, and then you play the next turn. And again, keep doing this each turn, building a machine. That's basically the simplest form of the game. There's a few other things you could do in your turn, right? But that's the basic actions. The other thing you and what I told you was the repair machine action. The other thing you could do is you could trigger a machine. Well, actually, let's talk about the upgrade first. You could upgrade a machine. Those machines that you have, it's called upgrade the machine, or is it called upgrade the mainframe? Whatever it's called. Those machines that you have repaired and you now have set aside in a discard pile, you could discard one to upgrade your mainframe one level on any of the five tracks. The five tracks being different colors corresponding to your robot colors. So let's say I want to repair the or upgrade the yellow track. I could discard my one machine that I had built out of the game completely, gone forever, and move the cog up one space on my yellow track. What that does for me is now, as an action, I could discard a yellow card from my hand and use the yellow card action. In this case, the yellow card action lets me draw a card and place it on the second row, the one that had been empty all this time. And now I have an extra card to use. The other machines do different things. As I upgraded to higher levels, I could do more. I could do more of the same action. For example, if I upgrade the yellow mainframe robot to level 2, well, first of all, the cost to upgrade it is actually the current level. So before it was only one. Now that's at level 2, I got to discard two fixed machines. But if I want to get from level 3 to level 4, I got to discard four machines, and then or three machines, and then to go from level 4 to level 5, I'd have to discard four machines. The If I've upgraded the yellow robot to level 3 from level 1 and 2, I now when I discard one yellow, I could draw three cards and put them on that top row. So the actions are more powerful. That that was all three actions I could do, right?
I believe so.
Fix a machine, upgrade the mainframe, or use one of the machines or use the mainframe, whatever, to or robot to do something, to take an action. There's a couple other things I didn't mention there that are sort of important. That top row of cards that we added from the yellow, from discarding the yellow robot. At the end of the turn, you always have to discard all those cards. If there's any cards in that top row, and they get out. So using those yellow cards to put cards up there is great. You say, "Oh, I'm going to get it up to 5, so I could always have five cards up there." Great. Well, if you do that and you don't use them, that's a shame. You just lost a bunch of cards. Fortunately, there is a different robot that will let you move those down to the fourth row. The fourth row sort of functions like the third row, the second row as an extra hand, but this one you never have to discard. It could just sit there unspent forever. Do you want to tell them about the other actions, or
No, go on.
basically they all manipulate your hand or the deck and just give you more options to manage things? What gets tricky is that you still have to build or repair a machine, so you still have to discard two cards at least. As you go up in level, it gets harder. So you still got to discard two cards and then hopefully have cards you could use for those actions. Or maybe you do in a different order. Whatever. That is basically the game. You're going to keep playing until you have repaired all the machines, all the level 1 and level 2 machines in their deck.
With that summary of the gameplay, I want to make a couple of comments on it. The game does give you the option to fix multiple machines every round. If you fail to fix at least one machine every round, essentially that consumes one of your lives, which are your failsafe tokens. If you run out of lives and you don't fix a machine, then you lose the game. You can, as mentioned, you can fix multiple machines in a single round before checking to see if you fixed any. I found immediately that seems like a strange rule. There's no reason why you would ever want to do that. It seems very advantageous unless you have a whole bunch of stuff in the flash. It seems advantageous that you would only ever want to fix one machine every time, because then you get the free card refresh to your hand, the platform, to be able to use those to fix machines, because otherwise you're just, it may be that you do another one next round, you're like, hey, that one that I fixed last round, suddenly I have none that I can fix at this point in time. And if you'd just gone a bit slower, you'd be able to fix it, you would have lost a life. So I don't know why that rule exists, or even as anything more than just a hey, it's an option, but like our recommendation is don't ever do it because it's silly. Like it seems such an obvious thing to do. Do you agree with that, Albert?
That's actually Julius's recommendation, not my recommendation. I have often built multiple ones in a turn, um, because the more
Why?
I build, the more cards are taken out of my hand, so I get more cards back, and I get more variety.
But if you just go one at a time, you won't get in trouble if you get a card in your hand and are stuck without anything to do.
I have, you know, I've never really found it to be problematic. Honestly, there's often enough choices that it's fine, and it doesn't. Especially at the beginning, um, you don't have a whole lot of control over what's going on. So the first part of the game, especially, you're just only able to build one thing most of the time, and you go with it. Or there's enough variety in the cards that's never really an issue. As you start building up your mainframe and you start having actions, now you're able to like maybe have not just 5 cards in a single turn, but maybe 8 or 10 or something even, right? Potentially, right? So suddenly you're able to do a lot more in the turn. And in that case, why not?
Hmm.
And I find it especially like with the yellow robots, right? When I use one and add cards to the top, well, now those cards on the top, I better use them or I'm going to lose them anyway. So if I can use them to build, then I
Yeah.
will. Um, but my point being,
Or to put them into the
yeah,
stock.
right. If I could do that, but you have to do something. My point being though that at first you don't have a lot of choice. As the game progresses and you're now being able to do more things and manipulate more things with your mainframe, um, it becomes easier to manage what's out there and build repair a machine without a problem. So in those cases, I don't mind doing two at a time. And it has worked out fine for me. I have not found it problematic.
Let me make one more comment then. Let me see if you agree with this one. Um, it feels to me like some of the robots are more powerful than other robots, or at least I very rarely take their effects. So the command bot, which is one where you prep a machine, you can discard 4 robots to make it so you have to spend 1 robot less to be able to fix it. As you mentioned, this game often comes down to like the last robot. You need them all to fix everything that you have and to do everything that you need. So discarding a bunch of robots to fix it feels very wasteful to me, and I find myself very rarely ever using the command bot. So if I'm stuck with just the ability to use the command bot, I will very rarely do it.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if the support token comes up and it's the command bot support token, usually I'm like, oh well, then now I'm set a bit farther behind because I have a worse ability on tap.
I agree with you. I'm guessing that it's perfectly fine. I'm sure this game was play tested like crazy, and they tried all sorts of strategies, and it worked out. But that robot, it feels so expensive, like you said, to discard because you have to play the red robot to do that, and then discard 4 more. So you're getting rid of 5 cards to reduce the cost of something by one. That seems insane. So I won't do it. Or I may say, okay, well, I want to raise the red track, but I really don't want to use it until I get it to level 4 or 5. Because when I'm at level 5, I think I only have to discard one other card. So discard two
Correct.
and then prep it. Um, but spending all those machines to upgrade that high and not use the ability is wasteful when I could instead be upgrading other machines. So it is really hard. I find it really hard to use it too. It is not something that I'm comfortable with. It's a very much a leap of faith. It might be a
Yeah.
great strategy. I haven't tried it, and I haven't needed to try it.
Yeah.
The That being said, I played yesterday and I managed to win the game only because I was able to prep at the very end and discard 4 cards because I needed another purple, and oh, there were no more purple left in my deck. They're all in my trash.
I
So,
suppose that can be. I think it's also sometimes where there's one plan where you have to have 2 matching
mhm,
ones, and then if you plan that one, then you have to have one matching one, and
yeah,
that's really easy to
yeah,
do. So
yeah,
that can be also a time, but it's rarer.
yeah.
Another one that's funny to me, the Cyclobot. The Cyclobot lets you pull either a Cyclobot, like at its lowest power, you pull a Cyclobot from the discard pile and put it on top of the deck. So you use it and you get another Cyclobot and it goes onto the deck, so you don't even get it next time. It doesn't feel useful to me until much later on, and then only to fix other Cyclobot machines. So later on, where I can pull one and put it actually in the platform so it's immediately available.
Hmm.
When I need it to fix Cyclobot issues, then it's useful. But otherwise, it feels a lot less useful to be able to fix a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that one is tricky. It isn't. I don't find it too bad in combination with other robots, right? The green robot lets you draw a card. So I'll use the purple robot to get a card from my discard and put it in my deck, and then use the green robot to take it in. And that's not a great strategy because again, I'm using two whole cards just to do that to get the one card out, and it's a little expensive. But it works on those turns when there isn't anything else you could do. When you're like, man, I'm about to lose my game if I don't fix a machine. Well, I'll spend 5 cards if I have to. In that case, I guess to not lose the game. But yeah, it I agree. There's certain favorites that I have. I love the cyclobots at least at level 3. The green ones I don't use too much, and the yellow ones I use a lot.
Yeah, the yellow ones I use a lot. The blue ones I use more. The green ones are next, and then purple, and then red is how frequently I
Yep.
use
I
them.
would love the red one if I could start at level 5, but that's not gonna happen.
I'd say that's true about
Yeah,
all of
well, that's
them.
fair. Yeah. So yeah, I hadn't talked about the failsafe tokens, but yeah, so you discard one if you didn't fix any machines, you're going to lose the game. But if you have a failsafe token, you could discard it, and that saves you for that round. But you still next round, you no longer have your failsafe token. Now you still gotta fix a machine. So hopefully you did something. There's one rule that people seem to miss a lot. I've seen on the forums that you could actually discard a card when you're at level 1 and not gain any benefit, right? So occasionally you're playing the game and
Yes.
you may get in a situation where I need to fix 5 machines, and I don't have absolutely anything in my hand for those 5 machines. Well, you can actually just discard those 5 cards and play them for the mainframe at level 1, where there is no benefit whatsoever. You do nothing. All upset discard the card. So that will get it out of the way, and that is something you can do. And that is not super clear though. If you look in the reference, it is there at the back of the book, but it seems like a lot of people have missed that rule.
I mean, I think the reason why you miss it is because usually if that happens to you, you're already on your back foot, and it's probably better just
Yeah,
to shuffle
and
and go again.
occasionally I've had cases where I wanted to discard 1 or 2 cards, but yeah, you're right. If it gets to that, you're already in trouble often.
I view it that the game just should have had a mulligan.
Somebody suggested a pretty nice variant. Actually, they said at the beginning, because what happens occasionally, you could at your first hand you could draw cards and you find there's nothing you could do at the very beginning. You can't build anything. All you could do is discard cards. Well, that's terrible. Somebody suggested instead of drawing 5 and discarding them, draw 10, choose which go to the discard and which go to your hand, and start that way. Makes it a
Oh,
little bit easier, and you
could
pretty
be.
much take care of that issue, except for the most extremely rare cases, I guess.
Yeah, the only time it's happened to me, I just simply went
Hmm.
again. I was like, I
Yeah,
deal five
yeah.
more.
I mean, I've played games of Lord of the Rings like that, where like I draw my hand, and certain scenarios are so hard that if I didn't have very specific cards in my hand from the beginning with the cards I owned, then I knew I was going to lose. So I would say, okay, well, I just played a game and lost. Let me shuffle and do it again. And I would call that 2 or 3 games, depending on how many times I had to shuffle to get the right card. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't mention it either before, but those failsafe tokens, you can get more. You start with 1, but you can get more if you progress the mainframe all the way to level 5 in any of the 5 colors. When you do that, you get a mainframe token, and each time you do that, you get so potentially you could have a bunch of failsafe tokens.
Stop it. Let's talk about some of these
Okay, yeah,
expansions.
expansions. It's an Oniverse game. There's a bunch
S-
of them. There's 5 in this
yes.
case. 5, yeah. I think my favorite is the
So-
first one, the baby bots, because they're baby bots. That is so funny. The whole idea of the baby bots just cracks me up.
to summarize how the baby bots work is there's now going to be 5 additional baby bot cards, and on your turn you can make a baby bot. If you have robots that equal 5 in their values, you can shuffle those and a baby bot back in the deck. When the baby bot comes back up, you get a free level up, which is really nice. And your goal is to make sure that all the baby bots have been made by the end of the game. If you fail to make the baby bots, then you lose the
Hmm.
game.
And yeah, they're interesting. They seem like they're great and fantastic and all that, but it can be tricky to time it right because now you have to discard 2 cards to be able to do, or not discard because you put them into your deck, but you have to use 2 cards from your hand to do that, and you still have to build a machine that turn or repair a machine that turn. So if you it's not that easy to do both at the same time, and you want to, and then sometimes you're like, oh, but I want to do this thing and that thing, and you start getting close to the end of the game. You say, ooh, I haven't made all 5 baby bots yet. I'm in trouble. And you need 2 specific cards, or two matching cards in a single color. So you got to have, if you're going for the green baby bot, you got to have a green 1 and a green 4, or a green 2 and a green 3. And that's what it's going to take to make a baby bot, a green baby bot.
I have two that I really enjoy, so I'm going to talk about both of those. The first one that I really enjoy, perhaps the most, is the multibots one. Um, and humorously, the reason why I enjoyed it is because of what it does for the bad one. Most of these, as with many in the Oniverse game, it gives you something to make you better and gives the game something to make it worse. So it gives you these multibots. And so the multibots they're multibots. They have multiple things on them. So for instance, it can be any size or any type. And you can use those to fix machines. So they're much more versatile to be able to fix things, so you're less stuck with some of the random draw. What you have to do for the bad part is it adds some extra stage 3 cards. So first you want the stage 2 machine cards, the stage 1 machine cards, and so those are easily fixed. And the stage 2 slightly harder. And then afterwards you have to throw in this one, you have to throw in stage 3 cards. And so the stage 3 cards are even harder, even more difficult to be able to have everything happen. You do get an additional life when you're doing this, but really it's those multi-bots that are designed to help smooth over things so that when you get to the stage 3, you have enough cards available to be able to get through them. I don't it it's it's difficult to do because that's 10 extra cards. Often with these, it's usually like 4 cards, I think, for each one of these 4 robots to be able to do that. So it's only 10, and that's like an extra 40 that you need. Oof.
That sounds hard. That's this is the kind of expansion I haven't played it yet. It's
It's actually 20, I
okay.
guess, because you get to use the multibots twice.
That's
So
true.
yeah, I guess it's 20.
It stresses me out thinking of that. Those level 3 cards, I'm scared of them. Honestly, that's what it is.
Yeah. If you enjoy a little bit more difficult or you think the game ends too fast, this one does it. I felt without it, the game ended a little bit too early. I did find myself like, ooh, I want to move on to the next level. And this is very much for me. This is the next level. This is adding another level of difficulty, and I enjoyed this one. I liked the multibots. The next one I want to talk about was the microbots. So with the microbots, you get a bunch of microbot tokens. Since the microbot tokens are all either in size or suit, and so when you put out a car, when you put out a machine that you have to repair, you'll also put out a microbot on it. And to begin with, the microbots is an extra requirement that you have to do. If you're lucky and the requirement matches something that's already on the card, then it whiffs and it's no big deal. If it doesn't match something that's on it, then you also need to fulfill whatever the extra microbots requirement is. Once you gained the microbots and once you fix the machine, you gain the microbot. And then you can use the microbots to fix stuff. Perhaps the most useful one is spend 5 microbots to just fix a machine. You could spend 3 to swap another microbot to make one easier, or spend 1 to just discard a microbot and swap it with another one. But to me, the 5 microbots for a free fix is a really useful benefit.
Hmm.
Especially on the later ones when you can use those microbots tied in with a level 2 or even a level 3. Ooh, isn't those really nice?
Yeah, and just to clear make it clear what he means by the extra requirements. So if I have to repair a machine that requires 2 number 3s, and the microbot token that I drew and put on there, and these are being put on randomly. I don't know what's coming up necessarily until I place it. Maybe it says, "Oh, I got to do a 5." Well, I have to discard the 2 3s, but now I also have to discard a 5. So that's 3 cards instead of 2 to fix that machine. On the other hand, if it said 2 3, the requirement for the machine is 2 3s, and the microbot is yellow, well, a yellow 3 will suffice both of the requirements. So I just need any 3 and a yellow 3. So I only need 2 cards. So sometimes it could be easier.
And also, what happened is that it's not that it's easier; it's more restrictive in that case. But what
Mm,
can also happen is that, say, the machine requires 2 3s, and the microbot you reveal is a 3.
that's even
Well, in that
best.
case, it has absolutely no effect; it just
Yep, yep.
whiffs.
So that's the best scenario. Um, and that's why sometimes you may want to use a single microbot to discard a microbot on a machine and hopefully draw something better, or maybe discard 3 to trade 2 that are out there to turn 2 hard machines into 2 simple machines. And those are the temptations.
Yep.
You're like, well, I really want to save these and get 5 and just repair a machine outright, but boy, I could really swap those two, and that would really help me a lot. That makes it
Yeah,
interesting.
I really liked this one. I in fact bought another bag to hold the microbots, an opaque bag, a cloth bag to hold the tokens to be able to shuffle those easily during the game. I think this one's really nice and light.
I enjoy that one too. Gigantibots I liked less.
Go ahead and tell us a bit about that one, then, Albert.
That one. So now there's also structural damage, um, on the in your factory. When the cogs attack, they just started knocking down support beams and stuff. Whatever, your factory's taking damage, and there's I think 5 or 6 structural damage tokens or much bigger tokens in the game. When you finish you need to repair all that structural damage before the end of the game. The way you repair structural damage is using these gigantibots. There's 10 cards, and you're going to start the game, and they're going to be set to the side, but they're in play already. There's 5 cards, one in each color, and 5 cards, one in each number. And these are the bots. These big bots are the ones that can actually fix structural damage. That's what it takes, a really big robot. The way to run these really big bots is with little bots. They're standard size bots. It takes 6 standard size bots to run one Gigantibot. The way you do this is on your turn, you could choose to discard, or, well, not really discard, play 2 of the cards from your hand to the Gigantibot. You draw 2 cards. How does it work? That share one symbol in common, so it could be 2 yellow.
They have to share anything in common.
So
Yeah.
either the same number or the same color, and and then play them on one of the Gigantibots. Each one of those on a Gigantibot that it matches. So let's say I did 2 yellows. I could play them both on the yellow Gigantibot, or maybe I want to put them on the numbers and play one on the 2 because it's a yellow 2, and the other on the 4 because it's a yellow 4. However, I want to do it. These are going to stay on these Gigantibots until you have completely manned one with 6 regular robots, 6 cards from your tableaus, from your decks, and at that point, the Gigantobot goes into action and repairs one of those damage tokens or structural damage tokens, or gets you. I think it's 2 failsafe tokens. Your choice, which you do, and then the 6 robots that were used to power it get shuffled back into your deck, so you get them back. You set them aside for a while, but you get them back eventually. That's how they work. At the end of the game, you have to either remove all your structural damage or be able to pay it off. You could repair one at the end of the game by spending 3 failsafe tokens. The problem with that is there's only so many failsafe tokens in the waste in the game, so you can't, for example, like store up 15 failsafe tokens and then use all of them to repair the structural damage at the end.
If you don't have a structural damage removed over the course of the game, removing it at the end of the game costs
Yes,
three
yes, yes.
failsafe
That is what I
tokens.
was saying. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. That is expensive. You can't just try and save them up at the end and remove them that way. That doesn't really work. Um,
Yeah, max you can have is one not removed.
so yeah, that one's a little bit tricky too. I find it a little challenging.
Yeah, I think this one doesn't have. It feels close to the baby bots in that it's an extra requirement now you have to go through the game, and it's an extra requirement that, as mentioned, it is beneficial to do and to interact with because if you can clear all 10, it doesn't cost you anything. You just have to make sure you clear all 10. Starting, trying, and failing costs you. If you succeed, it doesn't cost you.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the gameplay idea of it, but it's not as cute as the baby
No,
bots.
Gigantobots are not so cute.
the problem Yeah, the problem is that they're not cute enough. It's not adorable. There's not enough draw for this one other than just the idea of it. And the idea of it, I suppose, just wasn't as neat as some of the other expansions. But once it's there, it's fine. It's fine to play with. It doesn't detract. It adds. I don't suppose that really adds. It's just another thing. It adds complexity for a game that, once you're adding in expansions, can generally use the extra complexity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not neat like some of these other
Yep.
ones.
And it's a tricky one too because you could be setting some of your robots aside on the Gigantobots, and you're gonna get them back, right? So it's like no loss. But if you time it poorly and you shuffle your deck back in before you've used the Gigantobot, those cards are only going to be used once effectively instead of twice, right? So you need to be extra careful with that. It definitely adds complexity to the game, which could be a good thing, right? If eventually the game may get too simple for you, and you may want to add more complexity. There you go. That'll do it.
So I'm surprised that Albert picked to do the Gigantobots before the final expansion, the Devious Cog. And I'm not sure if it's because Albert likes Devious Cog more than this one or not. Because Gigantobots is my least favorite, but maybe only a little bit above Devious Cog. The Devious Cog expansion works that there's these interference tokens that happen. When you trigger an ability the first time for each level, you'll reveal one of these interference tokens. If the interference tokens, and this is only the first time because once it's there, it's discarded. But if there's an interference token currently under the cog for that one, you'll reveal it, and instead of doing what you want it to do, it does whatever the interference token says. So essentially, at random, it's going to change the suit of your card's ability to something else. And there's no control over it. You don't know what it is, so it could be that Cyclobot that you're trying to do, all of a sudden, instead of cycling in your deck, it's going to plan and it's going to discard 4 cards so that you make one level easier, that one that we really don't like. And okay.
Yeah, it's chaotic.
It is chaotic. The reason why I place it above Gigantobots is because at one point in time, for me, I want a little bit of chaos in my life. I want to be challenged a bit to have to do different things. So, like, as mentioned, I have a preference for the cards that I want to play. Nothing else amongst the expansions forces me to sort of deviate from what I want to do. I want to not very often use, it's not even a plan bot, it's a red bot, it's a command bot. I very often don't want to use a command bot. With this, I now have to use a command bot. So at one point in time, I'm just going to hit it. And so that means that I have to deal with it. And so that sort of stretches and expands my ability to work with the game. And hopefully will let me discover a couple new strategies to be able to play the game better. So I like something that forces me to stretch outside of my normal wheelhouse. And so for that, I give it due credit. Even though it's entirely random, it adds so much more unpredictability to the game. It takes away all of the reliability, all of the dependability that you have from those cards, and turns it into a game of a whole bunch more randomness. But I can tolerate that if it's going to make me be a better gamer, be a better player of this game.
Yeah. Now it does balance that with just giving you an extra failsafe token from the beginning of the game. So now you start with 2 instead of 1, and that is how they made it easier, which doesn't seem like much. But, you could always choose also to just the beginning, just go ahead and use the mainframe at level 1 where it's not going to get any effect, and just discard a card to reveal the token. So that is an option, and you could do that and take off some of that chaos. But I haven't tried it yet either. I haven't gotten this far, but I like the idea of it a lot. It sounds interesting. Managing the I like it's called, what is it? There's interference in the game. The cog introduced some interference,
Yes.
and all the lines are crossed and unpredictable, and just thematically, I think that's so cool.
Yes. So, Albert, have you got any final
I
thoughts?
like this game a lot. I think it's not my
Yes.
favorite Oniverse game necessarily, but it's definitely up there in the top 3. I would say maybe top 4, but I think top 3.
I don't know how to rank it, but I do really enjoy it. I think that it's another strong entry into the Oniverse line. It's again taking a more simple mechanic, as mentioned, I guess hand
Mm-hmm.
management. Um, but playing through managing your hand, it's got tight, it's tense. I very much enjoyed it. I think it's a really good entry of the game. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I've been playing on my phone. Installed a solitaire card game, which is the one where you have all the cards laid out face up, and you now need to play the cards up to the top in numeric order, and you can move cards around and stack, and you're choosing which order to reveal the cards in as you play. This game reminds me a lot of that. It's at first it's not at first it's very predictable what's going on. As you start playing and you have more abilities and you've built up your machines a little bit so you can take extra actions and manipulate the the tableau in front of you. The game now, you start thinking about, okay, well, should I do this first, or maybe instead of doing that I could do this. Out, Julius just dropped a book in his toe. Or you get to plan on which order to do things to accomplish things the best, and it reminds me a lot of that Spider Solitaire that I've been playing, and it is just really fun. It's very much like a brain puzzle to figure out your best move, and I find that very very satisfying. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this game a lot. Can't wait for the next one already.
Oh,
Timion, and
Timion.
that's the final one. No, well, no. Next is probably Urbion, actually.
Urbion doesn't count.
It's a
Urbion doesn't
great. It will
exist.
soon enough. I can't wait to play with more expansions.
Oh, Timion is the next one.
Oh yeah, I'm either way. I'm looking forward to all of them. That will be neat.
And with that, I'm afraid we have to say, 5 alive!
All right, then let's shut the lights off in this factory. Go home.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for listening. We love feedback, so we love hearing from you. You can reach me at julius@oneplayerpodcast.com or JLBird on BGG, and Albert can be reached at albert@oneplayerpodcast.com or Fractaloon on BGG. Our website is oneplayerpodcast.com with the number 1, and we're also on Twitter at oneplayerpodcast. The intro music is copyright Angus, can be found at jamendo.com. The transition music is copyright by Dan Elduce Pancaldi, whose page is at donpancaldi.com. The One Player Podcast is protected under a Creative Commons share-alike license. Thanks for listening.